Today, what we're going to talk about are 10 components that you need to build a successful podcast. Now, this doesn't matter whether we're talking about an audio podcast or even a video podcast. These terms are used synonymously now. Just podcasting, whether it's video or audio. I can say from personal experience, my video podcasting has produced a lot more than my audio podcasting, but that may be because I've spent a lot more time paying attention to the video portion. Podcasting is that thing that can actually, if you're an entrepreneur, showcase the things it is that you actually know about, the things that you can actually help people with. When you do a good podcast, whether it's an interview podcast or whether it's just like this, a talking head podcast, even though this isn't a podcast, it's a training session. But even depending on what it is that you're doing, doesn't matter. These things that I want to talk to you about today can actually build your audience. And through building your audience, you can actually build your income. You can build your business. So we want to talk about podcasting from that perspective today. So point number one that I want to talk about is developing quality content. And the most important component of a successful podcast is the content, is the thing that you're talking about. Create engaging, informative, and entertaining episodes that resonate with your target audience. How do you do that? There's a couple of components that go into this to creating quality content. And I believe we know quality when we see it, even if we may not be able to really define it. But let me give you 3 key points here. To develop quality content, it's going to come down to sometimes the gear it is that you use to be visually appealing. It's going to come down to the audio quality so that you can be audibly appealing and there's not a bunch of background noise and things like that in there. But what it also is going to come down to is who it is that you are, your personality. What is it that you bring from the inside of you outside so that people can actually see that this is quality content? Because it's got to be engaging. It's got to be entertaining. It's got to be something that people want to watch. If people don't want to watch you or listen to you, it's not quality content based on the audience that you've selected. So what's point number 2? You want to have a clear concept and in some cases, a niche. Actually, in many cases, you want to develop a niche. So define a clear concept and niche for your podcast. What is it about? Who is it for? Who is going to be asking you questions based on what it is that you're putting out? So you've got to define that concept based on your audience. Identify that target audience and ensure that your content aligns with their interest. This comes down to the clear concept, because if you don't have a clear concept, kind of like even with this video, the concept of this video are the 10 points basically you need for a successful podcast. That's what the concept for this is. Now, a niche audience for this may not be a very well-defined niche, right? This is more general. It's for entrepreneurs that want to understand how to do podcasting and the things that they may need to do in order to make it successful. All right, so point number 3, here it is. Engaging host. A charismatic and knowledgeable host can significantly enhance the appeal of your podcast. So choose a host. Look, you're going to be the host in this. So you've got to bring your personality to the table. It does not mean that you have to have a personality that's always bubbly and all that stuff. But what it does mean is that you have to be authentic to who it is that you are. So if you're trying to be like someone else, it's probably not going to go over very well, because when you're trying to act like someone else, that's a job. That's hard. You can't do that. You may have people that you look up to. You may have people that you aspire to be like. But if you're trying to be like them and have their personality, that's not going to go over well. It is not something that is sustainable. But here's the other thing with that. Your audience that you build are actually appeal to who it is that you are. So be yourself in all of this. You know, it's something to say to be charismatic. What does that mean? Because charismatic to someone else may be scammy to someone else. It may be over the top to someone else. So be yourself. And the people that are attracted to that are going to be attracted to that, and they're going to follow you because they are attracted to who it is that you are. I don't appeal to everyone, and I will never try to appeal to everyone. So that is something that you have to be very cognizant of. Now, when we get into point number 4 here, which is professional audio equipment, that term professional, is subjective. What is that? So I use a certain type of microphone. I use a certain type of audio interface that allows me to create the audio presence that I want to create. Now, audio is that thing, unlike video. Audio is the thing that people don't normally forgive when there's errors or mistakes or it doesn't sound good. People will forgive bad video quality many times, but audio quality, that thing that they have to actually take in and listen to, if it's not crisp, if it's not clear, many times people will ignore that. Now, it's not in every case, but it is something that if you want to have something that's going to be long-standing, have longevity, sustainable, you want to pay attention to that audio quality. So you can do things to, you want to invest in higher quality audio equipment to deliver a clear and professional sound. If that's your thing, and if you understand that that's the presence that you want to have. Now, if the content isn't good, the audio quality isn't going to matter because no one's going to watch it. So you can do things and buy things like a good microphone, headphones, audio interfaces, and you want to make sure that you're in a quiet environment and that you have your cell phone turned off so that it doesn't ding when you're in the middle of doing a video like that. Take that note, right? So audio is very important. It's always been high on my list to make sure that what I'm delivering is effective. So that is point number 4. Point number 5, editing software. Now, when we're talking about editing software, we can be talking about something, whether it is for video editing, audio editing, or 2 different things. Many times, they're 2 different things. Your video editing may be very different from your audio editing software that you use. Now, when you look at the editing equipment, input equals output, or I should say from my high school programming days, if you put junk in, you're going to get junk out. And it's going to be hard to clean up bad video. It's going to be extremely hard to clean up bad audio. So you want to make sure that what you have going in really sounds good. So there's a minimal amount of editing to be done. On the video side of this, there are some simple tools, and I'll link in the description of this video. There's some simple tools that I use every day to edit videos, the tools that I'm going to be using today to edit my video. There's literally just one. I'm going to be able to edit things in, edit things out, put in graphics, put in words that you've already seen happen. I'll be able to take that same video later using the same resource that I use. I'll just tell you, it's called Kapwing that I use, Kapwping, Kapwing. And I'll link to that in the description. But that's the video software that I use to edit my videos. When it comes down to editing audio, I handle that mostly within my audio interface. I use Rodecaster Pro 2 to capture my audio through this microphone. This microphone is plugged into my Rodecaster 2. That Rodecaster 2 is then plugged into my Mac Mini. So that is what I use, and there's a tremendous amount of resources within the Rodecaster Pro 2 to be able to handle the audio to make it sound, well, you hear how it sounds. And so that's why I use that. I'll also link to that in the description as well. The Rodecaster Pro 2 that I use. Now, even though I'm saying things like, this is what I use, this does not mean that this is what you need to use. I'm just giving you some of my own experience on how I'm able to do some of the things that I'm doing. There are less expensive routes, less expensive ways to go. The setup that I have is not inexpensive. It's kind of pricey, but I've built this over time. There's a starting point. You can start with a simple USB microphone, maybe for about $30, $40, $50 that will give you very good audio quality and sound. I'll put a link in the description as well for some of the suggestions that I may have for that. But you want to make sure that the software that you're using, you're comfortable with and you understand it inside and out. And people have asked, well, what's the best video editing software? What's the best audio editing software? The best is the one that you know, the one that you're comfortable with. Pick one and let's just go. All right, so now point number 6, you got to have a consistent release schedule. Now, the release schedule that I have for this show or this video series that I do anyway on the Earl Hall Studio channel here on YouTube is every Wednesday. For the Earl Hall show, when I'm doing the Earl Hall show in season, I'm off season right now, but it comes out every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? So, and I'll put a link. If you want to see the Earl Hall show, there's going to be links in here. You can check that out as well, or just go to my playlist on this channel and you'll see it, the Earl Hall show. It's a podcast that's there. So you want a consistent schedule so that people know when they can find you. When are you putting this stuff out? And they will get accustomed to seeing you at that particular time on those particular days. And having a schedule, you can release things ahead of time. Like with the Earl Hall show, I start promoting it on Sunday. It's already been recorded. It's uploaded to YouTube and it's released on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And that way I'm able to promote it. I'll probably begin doing the same thing with these episodes that I do. That'll be released every Wednesday. This is the first one that I'm doing. So I don't have time yet, a time that it'll be released. But it may be somewhere around the same time, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be able to promote that during the week so that people know that it's coming up. When you have a consistent release schedule, you have consistency built in with your audience so that they know when they can come and get the valuable information that you're putting out. Point number 7, eye-catching podcast artwork. Now, this is talking about, in particular, like if the artwork that you use for a podcast so that it'll be seen on like Apple Podcast, it'll be seen on Google Play, the different podcasting sites that are out there that are audio only. When you're doing a video podcast, like let's just say we're talking about here on YouTube, then we're talking about your thumbnail. That thumbnail has to pop. And I'm sure that at some point in time on this channel, I'll be talking about the importance of thumbnails. I probably have already produced a video on that, but there'll be more about how to produce these thumbnails that you're going to use, whether it's for video or whether it's for audio podcasting site. The place that I use is always Canva. I think most people know about Canva. You know, I'll put a link in the description for that if you don't, and you can grab that as well. Canva is how I've created all of my artwork for the past at least 3 years. No, more than that. It's more like 7 years that I've been using Canva to create the graphics that I need to create for my thumbnails and for my podcast thumbnail for an audio podcasting site. Now, point number 8, engaging show notes. This is important, and you'll see this in particular when you look at the show notes for this show. This is important for video podcasting, and this is also important for audio podcasting as well. Show notes are all of your SEO. That creates the SEO for your broadcast, for the video podcast and for the audio podcast as well. It's all about the SEO. The better your show notes are that describe what the show is about, the better it'll be discovered. It'll be more discoverable when you have good show notes. And we can also talk about things like hashtags and things like that as well. So in your show notes, not only do you want to have the description of what the show is about, but you also want to have relevant links. You also want to, be able to share things with people. Like throughout this video, I've been saying, I'll put a link in the description so that you can see that. The description is the same as your show notes. And when you're talking about podcasting, that's a whole other thing as well. My suggestion, especially when we're talking about engaging show notes and the other 7 points that we've talked about, when I'm talking video podcasting, I'm talking about YouTube. I'm talking about YouTube. When I'm talking audio podcasting, as far as where I put that, I'm talking about Captivate is the podcasting platform that I use, because I can then not segment that out, but I can distribute that out to all of the different podcasting platforms that are out there. I'll put a link in the description for Captivate as well. That is my podcasting, audio podcasting platform of choice. Number 9, your promotional strategy. All right, so developing a marketing and promotional strategy to ensure your podcast reaches a wider audience. This can include promoting on social media, collaborating with other podcasters, guest appearances on other podcasts, or advertising or relevant platforms. Now, let me break each one of those down to you. I kind of hinted a moment ago about how I go ahead and start promoting my podcast before the day. You know, the Earl Hall show comes out on Thursday, 3 p.m. I start promoting that on Sunday. How do I start promoting that? Well, I'll make a little short, or you may call it a reel, or a TikTok of what the show is going to be about. It doesn't take more than a minute, believe me, to express what you need to express by promoting on other social media channels. I do it across LinkedIn. I do it on Facebook. I do it on Instagram. And that's pretty much the 3 platforms that I use. You can still use places like X, formerly known as Twitter. You can also do TikToks. There are whatever social media channels that you actually have a presence on and that are active on and that get engagement on. You want to be sharing these little promotional clips so that they know what is coming. Now, it talks about also, what was the other one? I talked about social media, collaborating. There are other podcast hosts that I'm engaged with that I share their stuff and they share my stuff. Not just podcast hosts, but other entrepreneurs, business owners that are out there, authors that simply share something when I post it because I reciprocate and I share their stuff as well. This is important. When you're talking about building an audience, you have to be engaged with that audience in order for it to grow. Guest appearance on other podcasts. I am on other podcasts. I'm interviewed by other people. I've been written up in magazines by other people because they see what it is that I'm doing and they find my content valuable and they want to share that content with their audience. This is a key component in building your audience because now when you're being interviewed on another podcast, you're tapping into that podcast host's audience outside of your own, and you're able to continue to build your audience. And this is how you're going to build it faster and foster loyalty with the audience that you're building and attract more listeners. All right. So number 10, engagement with your audience. I can't tell you how important this is. A lot of times what happens is that people think because I put out content, right? That's all I need to do. Oh, I want people to engage with my stuff. I want them to like my post. I want them to comment on my post. But what is it that you're doing for your audience on their content and on their posts? They're following you, but are you following them? Now, this is especially if you're looking to build and foster community. You have to be engaged with other people. We can't just sit back and wait for people to engage with us. We have to be engaging with other people, liking and commenting on their posts, and they will do the same in turn. And I'm not talking about, hey, I like that picture. I'm talking about, sometimes you want to do that. Just a simple comment will do. But you want to engage and show them that you're paying attention to what it was that they posted. Talk about what they talked about in the post, how it's relevant to you. Show them that you're interested in them, and people will actually show you that they're interested in you because you've already shown it first. So the engagement part of this with your audience is hyper important. It is not something to look over, and it will take you way longer to build and foster a really loyal audience if you're not loyal to them. We always want people to be loyal to us, but how much loyalty are we showing to them and the content that they're producing? All right. Those are the 10 pieces. We had engagement with your audience, promotional strategy, engaging show notes, eye-catching podcast artwork, consistent release schedule, editing software, professional audio equipment, be an engaging host, have a clear and concise, have a clear concept and a niche, and quality content and what that means. If you're in the middle right now of trying to produce a podcast and trying to build an audience, you're going to have questions. Why don't you go ahead, leave me a comment or question below, and believe me, I'm going to engage with you. Where are you struggling right now? Where are you in the process of your podcast? Are you just starting? Not started yet? Want to start? Have you been doing this for a while but are struggling with growth? Leave me a comment or a question below, and because I am engaged with my audience, I will definitely engage with you. And that'll actually give me some more people to follow, because then I'll know this person is engaged. That'll trigger me to go find you on all of your different social media platforms so that I can engage with you as well. If this has been valuable for you, make sure that you go ahead, subscribe to this channel, give me a like if you like this. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. But also make sure that you're subscribed so that you know whenever I release a brand new video, you will be the first to know. I'll see you on the next video.